It's the Las Vegas Sportsline.
All right, here we go. It is the Wednesday edition of the Las Vegas Sportsline. Happy Halloween to everybody. I'm sorry we don't have video cameras in here to show you what we are really dressed to the gills for Christmas. Seidel is dressed
for Christmas.
What did I say? Christmas?
Yeah, it's Halloween.
Oh, well, okay. That's. See, this is how little I think about this holiday. I'm already in Christmas mode. That's Teddy Covers. Ted Savransky. Follow him at Teddy_Covers. Mark Seidel at what is he? At Mark Seidel, right?
_Mark Seidel.
Oh, okay.
There's
you
another.
guys with the underscores.
Well, there's actually some hockey reporter named
Really?
Mark Seidel.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And there's only me as Dave Koken, so at Dave Koken for me if you are following on Twitter. We've got a bunch of stuff to go through. Now, you actually do, however, you have a young son, so therefore Halloween is an actual holiday for you.
Yeah, I got to go trick-or-treating tonight, which I'm not looking forward to, but hopefully it'll be short and sweet. Well, whatever, it's fun. You know, you got to do this stuff
it is fun, yeah. If you've got a kid, it's great.
Yeah, but in terms of, like, what would I rather be doing tonight? You know, I'd rather be doing that, you know, as you get older, Dave, you fall into the rhythm and you do the same thing every night. What do I like to do at night? I like to sit at home and watch my games and bet. You know?
Well, there's almost nothing to do tonight anyway from that standpoint. You got NBA.
All kinds of NBA.
But only one college football, one NHL, and no NFL tonight.
I'd rather be on a Wednesday than on a Sunday or a Saturday, something like that.
Oh, forget it. Saturday, it's like, I'm sorry. You're on your own, kid. Here, go to... your mom is taking you trick-or-treating because I'm watching the games. All right, well, we do have games to look at, and we're going to get to those in a moment. First, we'll talk a little Golden Knights. They fall below 500 last night with a loss that I think was expected at Nashville. Good performance by Malcolm Subban and Nets, but not enough to stave off the just superior Predators. I was doing my NHL power ratings yesterday, just updating them for the week. I put those at covers.com, by the way, so if you want to see where I have teams power rated. It's not, I don't really use it for handicapping purposes to any great extent because I'm more situational in the NHL, but I like to have a ranking of sorts. I got the Golden Knights all the way down to 18th. I think that's about right on them. I think they're just the middle of the pack team this year, Teddy.
And, you know, that's been the big debate. Was last year, last year was obviously an aberration, but was the team going to be anywhere near as good as they were last year? There was a question about that coming into the campaign. But what are they? They're ranked now. Is it there's at least 10 teams ahead of them in the West now, aren't there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, as of now, I do not have them as a playoff
Only the
team.
Blues and the Kings have fewer points.
Right, and the Kings will continue to have fewer points because they are god-awful.
All right, so that's one team we can beat.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's teams they're going to beat in the West. I mean, they're not an awful team by any means, but 18th is, there's 31 teams, and I've got them 18th. So and that could fluctuate, but I think that's basically the neighborhood they're going to be in this season. It's still fun to watch them. It's still an exciting team. It's got some good talent and a great home ice advantage, and hopefully they'll pick it up and get rolling. Meanwhile, the National Football League trade deadline moves took place yesterday, and it's interesting that we sat down to do Wager Talk videos today.
Yep.
And I suspect we both think the team that benefited the most, because we commented on it, the Rams picked up a star from Jacksonville.
A stud in Dante Fowler. And they got him for basically nothing. And it's not like the Rams' defense was loaded with weak spots. But, an edge rusher at the linebacker position is something that every team can use.
Oh, that front seven just got better.
Oh, yeah, it sure did. Now, the question is that going to – because if you're looking at the Rams' weaknesses defensively right now, it's the secondary. But
with Talib still hurt.
Sure. But if
Peters is going to have one gaffe every game. He'll be good most of the game, but he's going to blow an assignment at some point in the game.
Yeah, but I mean, when you think about the concept of – I don't even know, Dave. I'm lost here. I'm having.
Well, I think that what it did was it addressed. I wouldn't call it a weakness that the Rams had, but it addressed an area where they could stand some improvement. And getting a guy like Fowler who can rush like crazy on the edge, that makes Donald all the more dangerous.
Well, that's just it. When you look at the concept of having your front seven save your secondary.
Yep.
If you're able to generate pressure. In takes a lot of responsibility away from the guys that have to cover man-to-man downfield. And one thing with Sue, with Donald, who is as good as anybody in the NFL right now, and now with Fowler providing a rush on the edge, that is a clear area of strength that will help them in the secondary, even though their secondary itself didn't get any better.
Bottom line is it's a move that a Super Bowl contender makes.
Yes.
The other oddball thing coming out of yesterday was the added criticism heaped on the Cowboys for giving up so much for Amari Cooper because look at what these other receivers went for yesterday. They went for lesser draft choices. Well, yeah, Cooper's 24. Golden Tate's in his 30s. So's the other guy who got dealt yesterday. Demaryius Thomas. I mean, their window is almost closed in terms of being viable threats in the NFL, unless they turn into one of those freaks who can play to their 35 at wideout, but those don't happen very often. Not a lot of Larry Fitzgeralds out there. So, I mean, you can still criticize the Cowboys all you want if you think they give up too much, and I kind of do. But don't use the comparisons. Well, look at what these other teams didn't have to give up nearly as much for Tate and Thomas. Yeah, of course they didn't. They're not as useful at this point.
Yeah, but either way, Thomas is going to have to get paid next year. Tate's going to have to get paid next year, and Cooper's going to have to get paid next year. So regardless of which guy you got, you're going to have to pay him next year, and that's what.
Well, I think the Cowboys are going to pay Cooper. I don't think there's any question about that. Right. I'm not sure about the other two guys.
Well, that's what they just decided not to do with Des Bryant.
Yep.
So when you say, all right, you could have paid your guy and still had your number one pick, or you could pay somebody else's guy and not have your number one pick. I don't think, Dallas got fleeced again.
Oh, I know. By no means am I saying it's a great deal. It wasn't a good deal for Dallas. They gave up too much. Yeah. I'm just cracking up at the comparisons. A 24-year-old with premier talent,
yes,
is worth more than 30 or 31-year-olds who aren't going to be who you're going to have to sign next year anyway. So. Bad comparisons.
What do you think? The Packers made two interesting moves. They dumped Clinton Dix.
And boy, are they going to miss him this week? Of all the weeks, I guess they had to because this is the deadline. But this is not the week to go to New England minus a really good quarterback.
Sure, and he played. I mean, he was an every down player.
Yeah,
for Green Bay, and then the deal that I thought they had to make, they had to do something with Ty Montgomery because he was dead to Packers Nation after Sunday. Sure, and when you read the quotes coming out of the locker room after the game, where they're like, he was mad because he got benched, and basically told the move to take the ball in the end zone was basically flipping the bird at the coaching staff. When you have that type of situation, you got to get the guy out of town, and the fact they got something for him is a positive.
You're right.
But Montgomery can play. That's the thing.
That to me was one of those deals where. In baseball, it's designated for assignment.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they got anything for him.
But I think it's addition by. I thought if I was even going to consider Green Bay this weekend, there had to be something resolved with the Ty Montgomery situation. But of course, that's resolved. But the Clinton Dix.
That's a nice pickup.
Sure, the Redskins are feeling now.
He's a nice pickup. He's a good football player.
Half the Redskins defense is like the Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
It's like Alabama defense right now, playing in the NFL.
No, they really. If I'm a Philly fan. I'm sweating the Eagles winning that division at this point. I mean, I know they're not a team that excites anybody, but they're 5-2, and they just got better.
Yeah,
that's not terrible, and they're ahead of the Eagles by 2 games. What is it, 2 games in the loss column, right?
Sure, but they haven't played yet, so
right.
I mean, Philly have plenty of chances to overcome them and overcome Dallas and all of that between now and Week 17.
All right, enough of what took place. Now let's look at what will take place, and we do that every day. With the MJ Christensen 4-4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put them 4s up. Put the 4s up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
Now, I have a homework assignment for myself, which is that I have to check out the MJ Christensen Facebook page to find out about some great November specials that are taking place. I have not done so yet, which is okay because today's October 31st, so I'm technically inside the deadline still. But I will do that tonight while I'm not answering the doorbell and therefore hoarding my Three Musketeers bars. But lots of good stuff will be taking place in November. We're only, we're Black Friday's coming up. Not too far down the road, Thanksgiving weekend, and all that kicks off. Then Christmas right around the corner. It's almost here. I mean, when you're my age, the calendar flips really quickly. So if there's something you're thinking about as a potential Christmas gift, you might want to visit that webpage and find out about the specials, or that Facebook page, and find out about the specials taking place right now at MJ Christensen, located at Boca Park. We will start with more action. 2 exciting games last night. Kent State outlasts Bowling Green. Buffalo gets the 9-point win and barely cover against Miami of Ohio. Tonight, a much bigger spread involved in a lot of injuries in this game, Teddy. As Ball State visits Toledo, the Rockets are gigantic favorites, almost 3 touchdowns. I took a quick look at Ball State and got as far as reading the local newspaper that covers them and seeing the injury issues that they have in this game and saying, yeah, I think I'm going to pass. I'm not laying it with the other side either. Toledo's also playing a backup quarterback. It's kind of one of those games they know they're going to win before they take the field. It's probably bigger to Ball State from that standpoint. This will be treated like a bowl game of sorts for Ball State. But I don't know if they got enough healthy bodies to stay close.
Yeah, I mean, Ball State was talking the talk. They talk about how they split their seasons into 4 different quarters, and now this is the start of the fourth quarter. The start of the fourth quarter game last week was a 52-14 blowout.
That
loss.
wasn't very good. It's a bad start to the quarter.
Yeah, and now you're playing without your starting quarterback and Riley Neal. You talk about injuries on both sides of football. You talk about a short, the limited prep time for the midweek games.
But Toledo, and by the way, Toledo, 4th game in 19 days. So they've been really busy.
Sure, but the one thing that Toledo did last week that stood out to me, they beat the you-know-what out of someone.
Yeah,
and
they did.
We've been kind of waiting to see Toledo do that. And they did it. And they beat a pretty good Western Michigan squad. They did it in Kalamazoo, and they did it as 4.5-point dogs. They won that game by 27. And this is a team that can light up the scoreboard. There's no betting bandwagon for Toledo this year. They lost, each of their previous 4 against the spread. And I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think Ball State can hang with this team at all. I wouldn't be surprised if Toledo blows them out pretty good.
In the NBA, the Indiana Pacers taking on the New York Knicks. I think it's safe to say neither one of these teams being treated as a serious contender in the Eastern Conference. But one of them is better than the other. And when you go on the road, the number's not as bad. I don't know. Look, I'm not following the NBA closely this year, so you can speak more closely to this, more aptly on this than I can. But, boy, the Knicks look like they've got a really rotten roster.
And they're covering numbers.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, the Knicks have, they've only failed to cover 2 spreads in 7 games. So they've been legit moneymakers for their backers early on, despite the weaknesses that you were talking about. And one of the losses against Golden State last weekend was a game in which they led in the fourth quarter and then just got annihilated.
Well, and, it's kind of like one of those games where Golden State just messed around and then said, okay, get out of here.
Yeah, messed around and got a triple-double, exactly. That's what the Warriors can do. But, you look at the 2 Knicks wins this year. They beat the Nets on the second of back-to-backs for Brooklyn. They beat Atlanta on opening night, and that's the 2 wins. So I wouldn't count on New York being capable of knocking off many squads like Indiana. Of course, you are getting a Pacers team coming off a really flat effort of their own against Portland the other night, but that was on the heels of back-to-back double-digit road wins at San Antonio and at Cleveland. The Pacers have shown they can do that already, and they missed a lot of bricks. A lot of bunnies, I should say. They put up a bunch of bricks and missed a lot of bunnies in the loss to the Blazers on Monday.
The Spurs and Suns will meet. Spurs seem to be playing. Well, look, they're very well coached. We know that. And they do seem to be playing with a bit of a chip on their shoulder. A team that's being disrespected going in, and I think probably with good reason. It's not a vintage San Antonio squad, but they're playing pretty well so far.
Yeah, San Antonio to me, and the Spurs to me were a squad that I really didn't have big expectations for coming into this season. And yet, and then you lose Dejounte Murray in training camp. And you're like, all right, well, who's going to handle the football, handle the basketball for San Antonio? And who's been handling it? I mean, DeMar DeRozan's averaging 8 assists a game so far for this team. He's done everything. 28 points, 6 boards, 8 assists, steals. The defense has been there. He has benefited immensely from his introduction to Papas. And, you have Aldridge and Gay. You think about this team as being all these young guys, and, they got Patty Mills and Davis Bertans and all these, Jacob Poeltl. The big 3 are DeRozan, Aldridge, and Gay, who are all veteran guys who can be a big 3 for San Antonio. Phoenix still trying to develop a big 3 at 1-5. There's upside for the Suns somewhere down the line. But with them Booker battling injuries, this is
He's
not,
always hurt.